Restrepo is the most dangerous outpost in Afghanistan's deadliest valley. The Taliban opened fire from a few hundred yards away. Second time in less than 24 hours, this outpost has come under attack. Some of the incoming rounds were so close, we could hear them crack past our heads. Now they're putting out suppressive fire to try and push back the attackers. They've also called in mortar fire.
That 100, drop 5054, effect over.
The mortar teams fire wherever they think the Taliban might be. After about 15 minutes, this attack on Restrepo is over.
Hold fire!
A portion of the award-winning Tip of the Spear, NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel, right in the middle of a chaotic attack on the Viper Company as it traveled through the remote areas of Afghanistan earlier this year. And, you know, my hat's off to you, but also your crew. You work with the same crew all the time?
I do work with the same
Amazing
crew.
Work. And they, you know...
Can I name them? Give them a little shout out. Braden Edwards, the cameraman, fantastic. Madeline Herringer, producer, you may know her.
Oh, my gosh, Madeline.
Yeah, she's around New York. She's fantastic.
Amazing.
A friend
really,
and a great filmmaker, producer.
What it takes to capture that, and those are the people who do it.
What did you find in Afghanistan?
I honestly think that it's probably time to start leaving the country. I really don't see how this is going to end in anything but tears. I think the idea of sending in some more troops right now to help out the situation is probably necessary. As you can see, small outposts are being overrun. These troops on the ground need some help. But the idea of going in to nation build and win hearts and minds, I think over the long term is kind of a loser.
There are a couple of different approaches. Of course, Joe Biden, the vice president, has his approach, which is keep a very small footprint there. Les Gelb says, let's give it 2 to 3 years and then get out. Is that your viewpoint after being there?
Yeah, I think it's probably time to. Getting out is not so easy. I mean, think about moving out of your house. You know, you need extra people to come in and help you do that. Leaving bases is a dangerous proposition. You don't want to leave under fire. You don't want your troops humiliated. So you may need to beef up in order to have sort of an honorable withdrawal. But going in to try and convince the people that we're there to develop democracy and develop hearts and minds, the Afghans don't want it. They don't want it from us. And I don't think that U.S. troops pushing out into tiny villages to try and work with the Afghan people, holding their hands, is something that is going to have a lot of long-term resonance.
If we do leave in 2 years, that means we will have been there for a decade, 10 years. Americans will look back on that and say, what did we accomplish? What was the point? What will be the answer to that question?
You could say you removed the Taliban from power. I don't think if U.S. troops left, the Taliban would suddenly take over the country. 6% of the people in Afghanistan, according to most credible opinion polls, support the Taliban. 6%. So it's not that they're going to rush into the capital in Kabul and take over. Most people don't like occupation. They don't like seeing the presence of foreign troops. And the idea that Americans are going to go in there in uniform, non-Muslims, not speaking the language, and say, we're here to protect you. Well, protect us from whom? They don't appreciate it. They don't want it. And I don't see the Taliban taking over.
Let's 4 or 5 years ago, America had pretty high approval rating there in Afghanistan. That's dropped in half. Why is that? Is it because the civilian deaths mainly? What's driving that number to go down?
We've lost credibility. When the U.S. diverted attention away from Afghanistan and sent troops to Iraq, we lost the credibility of the people. 8 years have passed and the U.S. has done almost nothing there. So it's not that people in Afghanistan hate the Americans. It's just they think of us as, you know, what are you doing here after 8 years? What have you done?
So they don't like us because we didn't send enough troops there before?
And also all of the aid projects have been a bit of a failure.
You said before that they didn't like troops there, but you're saying now our popularity dropped because we didn't send enough troops.
No, it's not that we didn't just send enough troops. We didn't do anything. There were great expectations in the beginning. And the idea was that U.S. troops are going to come in and raise this country out of a very primitive state and to bring it into the modern era. And that never happened. If you go into remote villages, they are very similar to what they were before. We've backed a lot of corrupt government and a corrupt...
Karzai, is that a very corrupt government?
It is an absolutely corrupt government.
Yeah,
and on a local level, there is tremendous frustration, and we are seen as an enabler of this corruption in this system. So not only Karzai, but even the local governors, the local tax collectors, the entire system that we have been encouraging to bring in has been unpopular.
That's
so
terrific.
we're seen as someone who brought in foreign troops, didn't do very much, supported a corrupt government. The aid projects never really materialized. So when Afghans sit around and they see foreign humanitarian workers driving around in their big SUVs on high contracts, big salary, and they see what has this done? Why are you here after all of this time?
Question for you, and then one for you about this. You write about Iraq's surge and how not to expect a quick fix in Afghanistan. What's the risk and cost of staying?
The risk and cost of staying? Mm-hmm. Well, the cost could be
increasing the troops.
Could be hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, it's about $200-300 billion now. If you're going to stay another 10 years, and you have to get a realistic assessment. McChrystal's report, which was leaked to the press, and it makes a very strong argument. That if you want to do this right, it's going to take maybe a decade, and that's hundreds of billions of dollars. Right. It's really starting this war over again. So, and I'm not sure if
so
that's...
Joe, politically, could this president, in a way, if he dials back, and that's complicated, kind of put this war on the past administration, while if he goes forward, and there will be costs and risks, it becomes his failure.
It's his war. But I think most Americans politically, whether they're conservative or liberal, most Americans politically are going to say, okay, give him 2 more years, give him 3 more years, but that's going to be a decade. At what point do we let Afghans run Afghanistan and Iraqis run Iraq? I don't see that as, and of course Republicans will accuse a president of abandoning Afghanistan and abandoning Iraq, but I think most Americans believe if we give blood and treasure for a decade to any country, at some point they need to step forward and start.
And there should be some sort of success to report there. Richard, thank you so much. And you can catch Richard's Tip of the Spear. Amazing work by everybody involved this Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time right here on MSNBC. Thank you so much.